Member for Cottesloe.
Thank you, Acting Speaker. It is
Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. It's an incredible honour for me, a descendant of convicts, a girl who grew up on a dairy farm, was a student at a tiny Catholic school in a country town, to be elected to serve in the state's 42nd Parliament as the member for Cottesloe. I know that for my extended family of farmers, tradies and teachers, the reality of having a family member in the state parliament is a source of great pride. So I welcome all of my family and friends in the gallery today. Thank you for the support you've given me throughout my journey to get here. My friends and family will tell you that seeking Liberal pre-selection for the seat of Cottesloe was inevitable for me, given my long-standing passion for Liberal Party values, my love for our beautiful western suburbs, and my aspirations for Western Australia. To be here representing the people in what I believe to be the best place in Australia is the greatest honour I could have ever imagined. My predecessors in the seat of Cottesloe, David Honey, Colin Barnett and Bill Hassell, all led the Liberal Party at some stage of their career. Dr Honey faithfully served the Liberal Party at a very difficult time, and I thank him for his dedicated service. Colin Barnett, AC, held the seat of Cottesloe for 27 years and was Premier for 9 years, from 2008 to 2017. His legacy can be seen everywhere in Perth and the regions, including Elizabeth Kean Optus Stadium, the Perth Children's Hospital, Northbridge Link, and throughout the regions in the many public infrastructure projects funded through royalties for regions. Bill Hassell, AM, who's with us in the Speaker's Gallery, held the seat for 23 years and served as party leader from 84 to 86. An effective minister in the government of Sir Charles Court, he has been a friend to me and has provided strong guidance in my journey so far. I'm conscious of the great weight of expectation on the Liberal member for Cottesloe, and I will do my absolute best to live up to the achievements of my predecessors and the high expectations of constituents and party members. I come to this place with a background in business. Economics and commerce have been passions throughout my life. I've had a fascination with markets, how humans structure and coordinate themselves to fulfil the needs of others. To me, business is a noble pursuit because the companies that thrive are the ones that meet the needs of their customers, and the best businesses provide great public services. After completing a commerce degree at UWA, I kicked off my career in marketing at Masters Dairy. You are looking at the person responsible for introducing the costumed Masters cows. For 9 years, I worked for the global food manufacturer Mars Confectionery, and I held global marketing roles overseeing R&D, packaging, manufacturing, logistics and advertising. It was a demanding role which taught me the values necessary to build a culture of success. For a decade, I ran my own marketing consulting business, working with organisations across Western Australian industry, including mining services, education, construction and professional services. My 30 years in the private sector taught me that no business is assured of enduring financial security. Business owners who invest their own money do not do it with a guarantee of return. Profit is something that needs to be considered in the context of losses. For every business making a substantial profit, that business has likely faced losses and the owner has made substantial sacrifices. Putting your own money on the line, working incredibly long hours, sacrificing family and personal time to achieve your dreams is a very brave thing to do. Private enterprise is the key to prosperity for all Western Australians. Only private enterprise creates the economic value that sustains all of our public services. As Liberals, we believe that private enterprise is best placed to make decisions on how they serve their customers or consumers, that a free market provides the necessary rewards for businesses that serve them well and failure for those who don't. Most Western Australians are not weak or victims in need of a hand of Big Brother to protect them from economic harm. Often, regulatory intervention causes a range of flow-on effects that are worse than the problem the government first set out to solve. We see this time and time again. Retirement village operators who've been forced to provide a financial windfall benefit to residents more than their existing contract entitlements. This populist measure is risking the viability of operators at exactly the time we need greater investment in retirement villages for our ageing population. The towing industry, where honest mum and dad operators have been provided mandated fee schedules, reducing their income by many times over, destroying their accumulated goodwill and their capital investment in trucks. Even pet shops, where honest business owners who sell beloved puppies to local families have seen their business model destroyed by unnecessary regulation. Now, I understand measures have been put in place to weed out unscrupulous operators, but these one-size-fits-all regulations cause immeasurable damage to decent family-run businesses that do the right thing. We can do better, and we need to consider more carefully whether the fix has worse outcomes than the original problem. In the most blatant example of market interference is the brutal closing down of our live sheep industry, which has the highest standards of animal welfare and export processes by a federal Labor government to pander to inner urban voters who've never set foot on a farm. It's unfair to our farming communities, and I stand with them. We do have a housing crisis in this state, and far too often the blame is laid at the door of building companies, when the truth is that over decades, successive governments have collectively harmed housing affordability by adding layers of regulation, limiting the operation of builders, demanding reporting and compliance for every aspect of home construction. As Liberals, we must not only oppose new layers of regulation, but seek to dismantle unproductive requirements that are costly and onerous. After being an avid follower of policy making across decades, I'm convinced most members on the other side of this place simply do not get business. If they did have even the slightest understanding of business, they would have known that to maintain the government program on Metronet, whilst at the same time the resources sector was booming, was bound to result in a squeeze on limited resources with someone losing out. And of course, we know it was builders and their customers who've paid the price. Builders have been driven out of the industry due to soaring costs caused by exorbitant public spending, a lack of workers due to Labor demand in road and rail projects, and Mark McGowan's myopic first decision as Premier to remove skilled workers from the migration list. Labor ministers have become fluent in the language of business, having learned key expressions like streamlined and efficient approvals, but they typically fail to truly deliver these outcomes to taxpayers. They throw up roadblocks and barriers from behind the safety of a regular pay packet. They have no understanding of what havoc their unnecessary intervention and over-regulation wreaks on hard-working West Australian businesses. I have a first-hand experience of this bureaucratic bloody-mindedness at the conclusion of the COVID pandemic. My husband was trapped out of the state, away from his family for 9 weeks, having travelled to visit his dying mother in New South Wales. A self-employed builder, he could not work to support our family, and he sadly missed Christmas with his 3 sons. In early 2022, the idea that this was for public health reasons was a falsehood. The closed borders were kept in place because it was a very popular policy. They're not my words, they're the message given by a well-placed Labor advisor to a frustrated director of a high-profile WA company who was trying to lead an Australian business from Perth headquarters. There was simply no appreciation that arbitrary rules would cause severe economic damage to the self-employed and businesses who couldn't move workers around the country. It's not until you've faced a month or 2 of zero income or have had to take out a loan to provide cash flow for your business that you can truly appreciate the sacrifice of a business owner. By now, you will have a sense of my passion for business, disdain for overreaching regulation and unjustifiable bureaucracy. As Shadow Treasurer, I will closely monitor the state budget to ensure the government delivers high-quality public services at the lowest possible cost to taxpayers. I want to be part of a future government that prioritises value for money, drives productivity and efficiency, and bases decisions on transparent, honest cost-benefit analysis. Western Australians deserve a government that serves the public, one that supports, not competes with, private enterprise and avoids costly vanity projects with questionable returns. As I said at the outset, it's the greatest of privileges to be representing the people of Cottesloe in this parliament. I use those words advisedly because whilst the physical geography along the coast from North Fremantle to City Beach is extraordinary, I firmly believe it's the people of the electorate that make Cottesloe so special. Of course, the people of Cottesloe cherish their lifestyle, and by cherish I mean they genuinely appreciate that they have the privilege of living within walking and pedalling distance of Perth's best beaches. They're grateful for the smell of the ocean breeze, eucalyptus trees, Norfolk pines and good coffee. They love our iconic watering holes, the Cott Hotel and the OBH, and many along the beach, and the many great restaurants and shopping areas, boating and fishing on the beautiful Swan River. They cherish their family, their friends and their neighbours in the truest sense of community. Family connections reach back decades, and Australian values, freedom, entrepreneurialism and service to the community and nation are the bedrock on which the Cott lifestyle is built. From one end of the electorate to the other, people are committed to giving up their time to volunteer at our local schools to help charities, church groups and clubs, including surf clubs, golf clubs, yacht clubs, sporting clubs and the WA Bridge Club. Within our boundaries are community bush care groups who work to maintain and expand remnant bushland, fauna and flora for the benefit of future generations. Volunteers from these groups plant and weed and water. They clear bins along the Swan River of garbage to ensure it doesn't end up in the river. And they do it because they love the natural habitat and because they believe in taking responsibility for the work that needs to be done. And of course, the area is home to many high achievers in a diverse range of fields. I celebrate their success. They work and study hard and they pass on their values to their children to do the same. Far from being a stereotype of an enclave for the wealthy, the Cottesloe electorate includes a large amount of social housing, retirement villages, old aged care facilities, pensioners and students, immigrant families and everyday working people. Young families with working mums and dads and kids in daycare are making great homes of modest villas and townhouses and apartments. The charm of our suburbs is that everyone treats each other as an equal and everyone is welcome to participate. As one local said to me, when you're in your budgie smugglers for a 6 a.m. swim with the squad, no one cares if you're a Supreme Court judge or a surfie. Cities are not preserved in aspic, they're ever-changing and growing, and the electorate of Cottesloe is currently experiencing rapid change as the age demographic shifts and more people seek to move in to take advantage of the enviable lifestyle. We all know that planning for a growing population in the western suburbs has been a fraught issue with sky-high tensions and controversy. I am, as people in this chamber would know, in the unique position of having spent 6 years before entering Parliament as the Executive Director of the Property Council WA. I do have a professional understanding of development and planning policy, and I'm passionate about it. Often it's said that people who live in the western suburbs are anti-development or NIMBYs. It's not a word I have ever used, as it is intellectually lazy and insulting to pigeonhole people who simply care about their homes, neighbourhoods and local amenity. From knocking on thousands of doors and listening to locals, I know the real problem is a lack of clarity and predictability about the future for our suburbs. Until now, Perth's growth has been relatively easy, but we all know it's been achieved by clearing native bushland to continue to expand our city limits. We have now reached a point in time where Perth's growth has become much harder. Climate change, questions around energy requirements, conservation and accessibility to workplaces, transport options, housing and rental costs all feed into the equation. Infill has become a toxic word which conjures up tree destruction and beautiful places and spaces filled with concrete. However, in the Cottesloe electorate, our infrastructure is from another century. Our roads are congested, our train crossings are dangerous. My vision is for a sophisticated planning system that invests in our road and rail infrastructure to provide for our growing population, facilitating opportunities for more housing, bushland connections and green belts surrounded by low and medium density and, yes, in some places, high-rise accommodation. This is what past Liberal governments have delivered at Perry Lakes, Leighton and Claremont Oval, and we can do that again. I do believe in genuinely integrated government-led planning solutions, and I look at what's been achieved in East Perth, where low to medium density development has been beautifully integrated to connect with both the city and the Swan River, and I wonder why this could not be the case along the Fremantle to Perth railway line. The Labor government has opted for a developer-led model which has resulted in high-density towers in unexpected locations. The abolition of the Metropolitan Redevelopment Authority has been a backward step. The Metropolitan Region Improvement Fund is a tax paid by landowners. Where is it being spent to improve inner metropolitan traffic congestion and archaic infrastructure? Infrastructure WA recommended reviewing and adjusting policy settings to support livability and amenity improvements in infill locations. Labor's prioritisation of MetroNet with gold-plated station infrastructure at the urban fringes of our city has been to the exclusion of addressing genuine congestion issues in inner urban locations. May I please seek an extension?
Granted.
Thank you. In the Cottesloe electorate, we see this at the Victoria Street Railway crossing in Mosman Park, the Queensley Drive intersection with Stirling Highway in Claremont, and the Eric Street Bridge in Cottesloe and many other bottlenecks. We can do a lot better. We can develop wonderful spaces on a scale acceptable to existing residents that achieve higher density while still maintaining a sense of community. And we can infill greenery right along with people. I strongly believe in transit-orientated development. My ideal would be to sink the railway line that divides the Cottesloe electorate and use the space above it to build the sorts of developments that bring people together. We see these things when we go overseas, when we catch the underground in Paris or London or New York and come up to street level to find thriving and vibrant communities. My aspiration is that everyone understands and the majority supports a vision for the Cottesloe electorate, where young couples in their 20s and 30s can hope to own a home near where they grew up, send their children to the same schools they attended. And what we know Cottesloe is known for outside the electorate is our iconic beach. Ask interstate or overseas visitors what they want to do during their time in Perth, and they'll inevitably say, "I want to go to Cottesloe Beach." It's the first thing Bruce Springsteen does when he comes to town. It's unfathomable to me that the Cottesloe foreshore has not been able to attract the sort of makeover funding from state and federal governments that has been afforded Scarborough and even Yanchep. In survey after survey, Cottesloe Beach ranks as one of Perth's top tourist destinations. Yet for years now, the local council's foreshore master plan has yet to receive support. The project, which upgrades and beautifies the stretch of Marine Parade between Forest and Napier Streets, is fully documented and shovel-ready and would be enhanced by an underground car park for visitors. At the relatively low cost of $30 million, fixing Cottesloe foreshore should be this government's #1 tourism priority. It's not a matter of spending that money for the benefit of a handful of wealthy Western Suburbs residents, but the benefit of thousands of Western Australians and interstate and international visitors who go to the beach every year to see this iconic place, and they leave disappointed with the shabbiness of what they find. Its neglect is a stain on our reputation as a prosperous, forward-looking state. I urge the government, put aside petty parochial politics and fix the foreshore. Mr Speaker, I was attacked during the election campaign for my role with the Property Council by an opponent who had no vision for the future and just wanted to instil fear and, quite frankly, spread falsehoods and misrepresent my aspirations for the electorate. A person who claimed to represent the community but was unable or unwilling to say on what basis she was selected to be the latest so-called independent. In contrast, I was selected by hundreds of members of the Liberal Party from the Cottesloe community in an open and transparent process. I put my reasons for wanting to represent the electorate to my peers, and they saw fit to pre-select me. I'm forever grateful to them. I've been blessed with good friends who've been there for me throughout the decades. I'm lucky the Iona Boarders adopted me in their friendship group, and I treasure their generous support. My best friend, Michelle Drinkwater, has been a constant source of encouragement, pushing me to believe in myself. I wouldn't be here without her. Thanks to Nick Warland and Emily Young, my Sunday fitness girls, the Famous Five and the Tommy Moore crew. I'm so proud of the campaign team that came together to help me with the election in Cottesloe, starting with the persuasive pair that encouraged me to nominate Danielle Blaine AM and Angus Murray. The most motivating campaign managers around, Sophie Dwyer and Harmon Macaulay, the most connected community engagement manager, Jessamy Marnie, and the best team ever, Steve Millward, Rose Scott, Ryan Fernandez and Ben Christianopoulos. Thank you, team, and thanks to the Liberal Party members in the Curtin division that volunteered so enthusiastically to support my campaign. The head office team of Simon Morgan, Jessie Wotton, Lily Rosich and the crew were a wonderful resource for me, and they do a great job. Now, I need to share a little about my early life that so shaped who I am and why I decided to take this leap from the security of a well-paid job, regular hours and a wonderful family life for this high-wire act of politics. Growing up on a dairy farm in the southwest might seem like an idyllic childhood, but for me it was boring. The isolation was difficult for what mattered to me as a teenage girl, which was shopping and a social life. But I did have plenty of fun with my younger sister and two younger brothers, building campfires in the paddock, riding motorbikes and catching gilgies. It gave me an appreciation for the work of farmers who have a deep care for their livestock and a 24/7 commitment to the operation of the farm. Farmers literally work around the clock. The right to disconnect in section 333M of the Fair Work Act, featuring no after-hours contact, doesn't apply to farmers. They're always on call. My mum and dad gave me and my siblings every opportunity, even though sometimes we face financial difficulty. Caravan park holidays in Mandurah or Busselton were a major event. Regular shopping trips to Perth on the Australian train are another treasured memory, with the opportunity to buy new season's clothing from what to me was the most glamorous location in the world, Perth's Hay Street Mall. My schooling at the tiny Our Lady of Lourdes Primary School in Dardanup was followed by high school at Bunbury Catholic College, and the nuns, priests and teachers all instilled genuine Catholic values of compassion and service and provided inspiration for my career ahead. Studying commerce at UWA and staying at St Thomas More Residential College provided some of the best years of my life as I finally had the social experience that I craved. My safe family environment was shattered on November 27, 1997, when my dad was killed while working for Main Roads. He had taken on contract work to supplement unpredictable farm income and was struck by a reversing grader on the old coast road. My siblings were aged 20, 18 and 14. It's really difficult to put into words the effect of a tragedy like this on a family, and so I'm not going to try here today. Mum suffered the greatest loss, losing her loving life partner, her friend, her rock. But we had each other, and I'm pleased and proud to say that tragic and life-altering in some respects as it was, it did not destroy us or our family. I believe it is the power of faith, love and resilience that was instilled by my parents that enabled me and my siblings to thrive despite the many challenges that came along. I admire what they have done with their lives, and I love my siblings Amanda Harris, Andrew Harris and George Harris, and their partners and children. My mum remains my closest ally, my biggest fan and a politics tragic. I hope she will continue to message me during question time and provide support, which I so truly value. My extended family have also shaped who I am. Mum's 4 sisters who taught me how to be a strong woman. My nana and granddad whose modest lives made me appreciate my blessings. My granddad who fought in the Middle East and Papua New Guinea in World War II made me understand Australian values are worth defending at any cost. The smartest decision I've made in my life was to marry Ralph Brewer. Ralph is a patient supporter, a thoroughly modern man who cares for our children and the household and has abundant empathy to help me through the challenges I've taken on. Together we've been blessed with 3 boys, Connor, Aidan and Kieran. We've lived in many homes, but we're happy in our little home in Cottesloe, gathering around the table nearly every night to talk about the day's events and nightly news. Boys, thank you in advance for what you will endure, all the drama and embarrassment of a mum who's a politician. I love you all very much. Finally, I do wish to touch briefly on the opportunity for Western Australia in the AUKUS project. I've spoken at length today of the enviable lifestyle enjoyed in my electorate, in our state and in Australia generally. In today's uncertain world, it's a lifestyle that I believe we'd struggle to defend against a determined and well-armed adversary. It's not surprising that both major parties at the federal level have committed to AUKUS as the cornerstone of Australia's future defence capabilities. If fully realised, the acquisition of 8 nuclear-powered submarines will go a long way to correcting what many commentators currently see as a serious vulnerability. It's a massive project, far beyond the scale of anything Australia has attempted previously, and for it to succeed, we'll have to put aside partisan politics and work together to achieve what's best for our country, our state, and I look forward to doing just that. Deputy Speaker, I was drawn to the ideals of the Liberal Party by the likes of Sir Charles Court, who had the vision to see what the state could become and the boldness to act on that vision. We cannot lose sight of the fact that Western Australia's wealth derives largely from mining, resources, construction and agriculture. All of those economic pillars have come under attack in recent years from people who believe we can get along without them. Respectfully, I disagree, and as Shadow Treasurer, I'm committed to providing oversight of a responsible state budget that delivers quality services efficiently, ensures value for money and supports private enterprise over wasteful spending. I want to express my gratitude to the people of North Fremantle, Mosman Park, Peppermint Grove, Cottesloe, Claremont, Swanbourne, Mount Claremont and City Beach for their trust, and I faithfully pledge to serve our community. I want to thank members on both sides of this House for the friendliness they've shown to me since the election, and I'm also grateful to the Parliament House officials for their help and guidance. I look forward to working closely with you all. Thank you.
Thanks,